All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tearing straight into a seriously profound philosophy on human potential, coming directly from the incredible life and mind of David Goggins. Now listen, this isn't your standard feel-good self-help material. This is an intense, completely unvarnished look at what it actually takes to overcome extreme adversity, rewrite your destiny, and truly master your mind. So get ready, because we are literally going to war with ourselves today.
Okay, let's just dive right into this with a pretty harsh reality check. Goggins argues that millions of people roam this world essentially dead-eyed. We get completely addicted to comfort, and we harbor this kind of victim's mentality. But the absolute worst part? Most people are totally unaware of their true potential. And why is that? Well, because denial is our favorite hiding place. We love to tell ourselves we're doing the best we can, but usually, actually, scratch that, almost always, that's just a cozy little lie that keeps us totally stagnant.
Section 1. The ultimate comfort zone.
So, if you're looking to break out of your habitual limitations, Goggins has a warning for you. Simple motivation is basically useless. Motivation is just a temporary fix that changes exactly nobody. What we actually need is a radical rewiring of the brain. And he brilliantly illustrated this at an MIT panel he was invited to. He was actually sitting next to this tenured professor who researched mental toughness. Well, this professor tells the audience that everyone has a genetic ceiling. Hard limits we just can't push past, no matter how mentally tough we are. Goggins spoke up and just rejected this outright. He looked at the professor and basically said, sure, maybe that's true for the 99%, but there will always be that 1% who are willing to put in the excruciating work to completely defy those so-called scientific odds.
Which brings us to the absolutely crucial 40% rule. Goggins believes that no matter who you are, how good or bad your childhood was, or what you do for a living, you are probably only tapping into about 40% of your true capability. Think about that. When you feel like you are absolutely done, your tank is completely empty, and you couldn't possibly take any other step, you haven't even hit the halfway mark of what your body and mind can actually endure. So the next time you hit a wall, recognize that your brain is really just playing tricks on you to protect your comfort.
Section 2. Dealt a bad hand.
To really understand where Goggins' unbelievable mental armor was forged, we have to look at his horrific, unvarnished origin story. If you think you were dealt a bad hand in life, just consider his early years. In 1981, at just 6 years old, Goggins was living in this beautiful house in Buffalo, but behind closed doors, it was absolute hell. He was forced to work nights at his father Trunis's roller rink, Skateland, enduring and witnessing horrific physical abuse. Eventually, he and his mom escaped. But then, in 1989, just as things were starting to look up, his beloved future stepfather, Wilmoth, was tragically murdered right in his own garage. After that, Goggins found himself in high school in Brazil, Indiana, a town that literally had a Ku Klux Klan presence. He faced intense, life-threatening racism there, including actually having a gun pulled on him just for walking down the street.
Now, what's truly terrifying about enduring this kind of trauma is the physiological reality. Goggins wasn't just emotionally scarred, he was suffering from toxic stress. Prolonged trauma like that literally alters your brain chemistry. His brain was locked into a permanent fight or flight mode, flooding his entire system with cortisol. This biological reaction was so severe, it caused a crippling stutter, his hair started falling out in clumps, and it severely inhibited his memory and learning development. The anxiety was just paralyzing. By the time he was a teenager, he was only reading at a 4th grade level. He survived school the only way his overwhelmed brain knew how, by cheating his way through every single test.
Section 3. The accountability mirror.
But cheating can only get you so far. Right before his senior year, Goggins got a sobering letter from his high school, warning him that he'd missed a quarter of the year, held a D average, and was on the verge of flunking out entirely. It forced a massive turning point. Ask yourself, how exactly does a deeply traumatized kid, who can barely read, who has zero discipline, and is hanging out with thugs, managed to completely flip the script and pursue a brand new dream of joining the Air Force?
Well, he did it through this nightly ritual of just brutal self-honesty. He went into his bathroom, shaved his head and face to get completely raw, and really looked at himself. He didn't fluff his ego at all. He called himself out. He told the reflection that he was dumb, that he was failing, and that nobody was coming to save him. Then, he wrote these specific actionable goals on Post-it notes, things as simple as making his bed to as hard as studying for hours, and stuck them right to the mirror. He essentially weaponized his own reflection, breaking his toxic cycle of excuses day by day.
He completely shattered his former reality. He went from being a lost kid making excuses to an absolutely obsessive student. And get this, because he couldn't learn normally due to the residual effects of all that toxic stress, he figured out he had to transcribe entire textbooks by hand,
over and over again just to burn the information into his memory. He studied at the kitchen table night and day. He actually failed the military entrance exam, the ASVAB, twice. But he kept going back to that mirror, kept holding himself accountable, and on his third try, he finally passed. He totally transformed his reality through sheer willpower and relentless self-truth.
Section 4. Battling the quitting mind.
But listen, growth is never a straight line, right? Just when you think you've won the war, your deepest fears kind of go dormant and just wait for their moment to spring back to life. After joining the Air Force, Goggins became a star recruit. He was totally excelling, pushing toward his dream of becoming a pararescueman. But then came water confidence training. Goggins couldn't float well, and he was absolutely terrified of the water. The instructors pushed him to the brink of blacking out every single day. He was passing, sure, but inside, he was consumed by panic and dread. Then, a routine medical check revealed he had the sickle cell trait, which gave the military a reason to pull him from training. On the outside, he pretended to be devastated. But inside, his quitting mind was ecstatic. He took the easy way out. And that single decision sparked a massive regression. He ballooned up to nearly 300 pounds, traded his military uniform for a jumpsuit, and started working the graveyard shift as an exterminator for Ecolab, spraying cockroaches.
That quitting mind is a constant, lingering threat for all of us. It's a battle we face every single day. Think about it, even after escaping his traumatizing past, even after completely transforming his academic life, his quitting mind still convinced him to accept a numb, miserable, zombie-like existence as a 300-pound exterminator. He had let the darkness win again, basically just accepting the path of least resistance because, well, it was easier than fighting.
Section 5. Go to war with yourself.
But Goggins didn't stay in that dark place, and we're not going to either. It's time to pivot from his story to a highly actionable blueprint for you, right now, to obliterate your own limitations. First things first, inventory your excuses in a journal. Write down every piece of your bad hand, every reason you think you can't succeed. That right there is your fuel. Next, write your specific goals on Post-it notes and tag up your very own accountability mirror. Break those large, intimidating goals down into micro goals to build some immediate momentum. And most importantly, stop fluffing your ego. Tell yourself the brutal truth. If you're out of shape, say it. If you're slacking at work, say it out loud. You cannot fix what you refuse to acknowledge.
So I want to leave you with this final, provocative challenge. What is your bad hand? We all have one, for sure. The real question is, are you going to use it as an excuse to stay all cozy and comfortable, or are you going to use it as the exact jet fuel you need to master your mind and completely defy the odds? The mirror is waiting. It's time to get to work.